Behind the Beard by Aaron the Mastermind.
Yo, what they do, what they do. I'm your host, Aaron J. Jackson from Behind the Beard. This is episode 19, and I'm here with the amazing Somara. And for the people who don't know who you are, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm looking at the camera, right? Yeah, I'm bad at this.
It don't matter.
Hello, camera. My name is Somara Jacques. I'm an attorney here in Miami. I specialize in entertainment and entrepreneurial law, and I've had my firm for about 3 years, but it's really kicked off, I think, like last year and a half.
Mm-hmm. So where did you grow up and how was your upbringing like?
Let's see. I grew up in Arkansas and Oklahoma.
Wow.
Yeah, I know, right? Before they had a basketball team, so I got excited. I was like, "Mom, more black people." Yeah. So I was born in Haiti, and then from there, when we were two, I was two. My sister was one. We left because of the political problems there. Mm-hmm. My dad took us to Arkansas, where he got his PhD in agriculture.
Wow.
And then from there, he found opportunity in Oklahoma. He was kind of sick of living in Oklahoma. We liked it. So about, I think 8th grade year, right before 8th grade year, he made us move to Miami. And I was like, these houses are real tropical.
The best decision you made in your life.
At first, no, because I literally came in overalls. I legit had overalls all the time. And I was like, this is amazing. I feel great. And then my 8th grade year, I went to St. Rose of Lima, which is in Miami Shores, in my overalls.
Wow.
Yeah, and 8th grade girls, they're not fucking playing around. Pardon my French, I'm sorry.
Especially down in Miami.
Oh my
God.
God. They looked at me, they were like, what is this? And I was like, ooh, I'm not ready for any of this at all. So it was a lot, but I love it now. I can't imagine being anywhere else.
Would you say like your dad kind of influenced you to go into that lane that you are in now, like in the law?
No, not at all. My dad, he's in math. Like he's very mathematical. Mm-hmm. And my mom is more the English person, but they both are, I guess maybe because it's a Caribbean family. Yeah. And, when you're immigrants, you always got to hustle. Mm-hmm. So they always had businesses. Like my mom and dad, when they were here, like where Wynwood is now, they had their own supermarket called Lucas Supermarket. Okay. So 8th grade.
That's a little history for y'all Miami folks. Yeah.
So from 8th grade year on, when we came here, they had it and then they sold it for a profit. Oh, wow. So I guess I've always kind of had that mindset, but I was always too scared to do it on my own. But I've always seen it from my parents. Like my mom does import-export, my dad does people's taxes. Like he has like 17 jobs. So that's where I got it from.
That's the way to be sometimes.
Yeah.
All forms of income.
I mean, that's how we got like the life we have now. We live we used to live in Miami Shores, but it was unincorporated Dade because of zoning, right? And then from there he moved us to Miami Gardens, and it was a nice place. Like it was, not cheap. I looked it up and I was like, Dad, how can you afford this? But because they work hard. So
well, we call it Carol City, but I always tell people, I just joke around.
No, you know what it is, but like when we went there, it was like, oh, welcome to Miami Gardens, and I was like, and somebody like, this is Carol City. I was like, I'm sorry, but that's what it says here. It says City of Miami Gardens. I don't know what to tell you.
We just joke around. Even though like the real OGs, we just say Carol City because we come from Carol City too. So like it's always that stigma. Oh, we not accepting Miami Gardens. We still saying Carol City.
I think the problem is like you look at you and then you look at me. I don't think I have like enough to be like, oh yeah, I'm from Carol City. Like I'm not legit enough for that. I can say I'm from Miami Gardens. People are like, yes, I see that. I see that. But if I was like, I'm from Carol City, they're like, shut up. No, you're not. Stop it.
Oh my God, you so funny. That's crazy because I didn't know that. I thought you were just. I knew you was raised outside of Miami, but I didn't know you got here at a younger age. That's interesting. I didn't even know that.
Yeah. I mean, it's weird. I think people are like, oh, you didn't live in Oklahoma and Arkansas that long, but I think maybe because you've grown up here your entire life, right? When the place that you grow up, it leaves an impression on you, and so I feel like even if it's only for like a couple years, like if you were there from like 5 to 10 or 5 to 12, like it's still going to kind of change and affect how you view the world and how you see things. So when I got here, I was super friendly because everyone said hi all the time, like we played with our neighbors, like it was easy. And then when I got here, I was like, hello. And people are like, what? Yeah. What is that? Like, what are you doing? So I was like, oh.
Culture shock.
yeah, exactly. And then I think the craziest part for me were like the houses. Yeah. Because everything's brick in Oklahoma. Everything here was super tropical colored. And I was like, what is stucco? And why is everything pink and mango colored? Yeah. And I didn't know how to handle that.
When I was in, I got culture shock by that. When I was going to Jacksonville as a recent, I my homie, we were just driving around Jacksonville, and I just seen the houses. I'm like, like he was just telling me like, yeah, bro, like the difference between y'all shit and up here, y'all got like different colored houses, like purple. Your house would be purple, fucking pink and shit like that. And when you go to other places up north, it's like, man, it's just basic colors.
That's
just interesting.
A lot of earth tones, and I think that as you go farther down south, you get more like Caribbean colors. Like you kind of you see what Bahama colors are.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
So how did you get into entertainment law?
It's funny. Sorry, you didn't finish the question.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So how did you get into entertainment law, and why did you feel like entertainment law was right for you?
Okay, so I've had a varied, I have a diverse background in law. I started in product liability, personal injury, mass torts. And if you're not familiar with mass torts, anytime like a company, I don't know, there's like runoff water that's toxic, right? And then you have a class action, all these people sue that company, that's mass tort. So I was in that too. And then there's a lot of paperwork involved and litigation. And I got sick of that. So then I moved to insurance law, and that's what got me into entertainment. Because insurance is all contract based. So I really enjoyed reading the contracts, and I think a lot of attorneys may not look at it this way, but I have a background in English. That's my major. So I looked at it as like, this is a story of two companies, or like a person and the insurance company, and they want to see like what they cover, what they don't cover, what their hopes and dreams are. You see that actually at all in the contract. So, and I've always loved art. Like that's what when my third year of law school, I did art law, copyright, intellectual property, trademark, like all of it, because I really, really loved it. But I thought, I live in Florida, right? I'm not going to be able to practice this. Like I'd have to move to New York and take the New York bar, or I'd have to move to California and take the California bar, or even now Georgia. So I figured it wasn't in the cards for me. So after a while, I worked at that place. I left and I worked for the government. I worked for Florida as a domestic violence case manager, which is basically a clerk. And I got sick of it. So I was like, you know what, Somara, like your parents have done it. Just start working on your own on the side. Just figure it out. And then I did, and I was just going to do like DIY law. Like I was teaching people how to deal with the law themselves, because there's a barrier to entry, I think, for law. People won't go to lawyers because they know we're expensive. Like really expensive. And what's worse is that we'll like tell you, okay, this is all the problems that you have, and then we won't bill you until later. I think that's the only place, like even at a mechanics, they'll tell you like, this is how much it's gonna cost to fix your car. We don't tell you that. And I thought that was weird, because I couldn't afford myself at that point. Like I worried if I was gonna get sued. I was like, I can't pay $350 an hour plus costs and fees. So I switched it so that I would tell you like what it was ahead of time. And then as I kept going, and I'm not sure why, but I got a lot of vegan rappers being like, can you look at my contract? And I was like, okay, all right, sure. So I started, and I was like, well, I've always liked entertainment law. I've always like kept up to date with it. And so from there, that's kind of how it grew by itself, me getting into entertainment law.
Wow. I mean, I'm just amazed by hearing that story, because like, coming up, we don't even think about the behind the scenes thing. We just think this is fun and games. But then, by you doing that could help like a lot of people, and that helped a lot of people, like especially in the different fields in the arts. Like we all need that. And what school did you attend to?
Law school or undergrad?
Or both?
Undergrad was FSU.
Okay.
Florida State.
Oh my God.
I know, and as you're wearing your, I see it. And I said what I said, Aaron.
You got more rings.
I said what I said.
It's all about the you.
I mean, I will be honest though. The people when they came for the for the FSU games, best parties. Best parties.
It is.
They were great. For that reason alone, I was always like, you can come like it's fine. Show up. And then I went to UF for law school, University of Florida.
Okay, my aunt went to UF, so I already know the dynamics over there. They have good programs over there.
Yes, but
depending on what you take.
No, it was law school. Like I think that's just law school's hard. It's not easy, and we'll just leave it at that.
So that's what I was gonna lead to my next question. Like, do you think that you should go to law school at an earlier age compared to later years?
I think you should actually, because courts are open. I don't think people know that. You can walk into any courtroom at any time and just like see what's going on. I think people have a perception of what the law is, before they go into law school. And I was guilty of that. Like, I saw Johnny Cochran, I was like, I'm going to be a criminal attorney and I'm going to free every like wrongly incarcerated black man. And then I actually had to go to a jail. And I was like, this is not for me. Like, because you have to have a certain like bravado and strength to deal with like those issues. And it was just hard. I was like, I don't think I can do this.
So you saying like that type of law is kind of more difficult to me?
I think you really need to like, I would really advocate for internships if possible. Like if you know a lawyer and you're like, because I could use an intern, I'm not gonna lie. If you want to help out an entertainment attorney,
we all need interns.
interns taken. But I digress. Sorry for that plug. But yeah, see if you can just talk to an attorney. Attorneys are happy to like be like, yeah, come to court with me. You know, sit in the back, like, and see what it actually takes to be a lawyer before you go to law school. Because that's gonna be sinking a lot of money into something, and time too that you can't get back. And if you don't like it, because there are a lot of unhappy attorneys out there, you're still gonna owe the government a lot of money, and
more than regular school.
Well, I mean, I think any grad school is going to be really expensive. But yeah, grad school itself is way more expensive than college. So if you can, I would say see what it's about first, and know that it's not all glamorous, it's not all fun. There's a lot of paperwork, especially if you're doing entertainment or insurance. I mean, people think like, I think they see my page sometimes and they think, oh, she's out all the time. I'm not. I'm really not. And even in between, like, I'm like stressing because I'm writing like a contract draft. It's like, here's your revision. You know what I mean? So
you put in the groundwork pretty much.
Yeah. Because it's all foundational. Yeah.
How far into your law career you can say before you could like specialize in it? Like how far? Because law school, all the times people been telling me about law school, I'm like, how the fuck y'all do that? I don't like school, so it's just like, you know, I can only imagine the energy and your mindset before you even go into that.
I think it's like, for me, it was a momentum thing. Like, I always knew I was gonna go to law school, so even if it was hard, like I was just like, that's sort of like where I was gonna go trajectory wise. But you can specialize in anything actually as soon as you graduate from law school. It's not like in the UK or in England, you have to like either be a barrister, right? Which I'm not sure which one. A barrister and a solicitor. A barrister goes to court. A solicitor just does kind of mostly what I do, which is transactional work, but you have to pick a path. In the United States, you can just do whatever you want except for patent law. If you're a patent lawyer, you already have to like start off having either a degree in biology, some science or math, and then you can go ahead and go to law school, and then you have to take a separate bar called the patent bar.
What's really the patent like? What's the dynamics of that?
Whenever you have something like your camera here, right? It has certain schematics, and it has a form, and it has intellectual property components to it. So the whole schematics of how to make it, how it runs, how it operates, that's called a patent. And so they have to try to go ahead and patent that so that way that it belongs to them. But because it involves science and math and like a lot of things that I personally can't do, that's why it's a lot more specialized. But I think if you're a patent attorney and you're good at science or math, do this, because when you start out, your minimum payment, like your minimum salary is going to be $150,000, and there aren't a lot of patent attorneys, so they will scoop you up quickly. So quick. It's a little insider tip for people who want to go to law school.
Everything that insider tip, baby, you heard me. So what would you say before people like pursue this career? What do you think people have to understand before getting into this field?
You mean law?
Yeah, law. And despite internships, like
know that I think you need to take it seriously. And I think I see that a lot, and I'm not saying any names, but no names, but I think a lot of people go into law thinking that you're going to make a lot of money and you're going to drive a flashy car and like it's going to kind of be easy. It just like you going to court and being like, I object, and that's it. You know, it's definitely not that. It's a lot of late nights. It's a lot of research. Like if you don't like studying, don't do law, because it's never going to stop, especially entertainment. Like they just passed the Music Modernization Act, and they're figuring that out with Spotify and those issues, right? And so there's going to be revisions to that. it's gonna be a lot of paperwork.
Yeah.
I spend a lot of my time on Sundays just going through something called CLEs, which is continuing legal education. They're videos that are like 3 to 4 hours sometimes that talk about a specific area of the law.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you ever get any sleep?
I do. It's better now. Before it used to be like I would sleep in front of the computer and like with my mouth a little bit open, so there's like a little bit of drool. So yeah, I used to do that a lot. I would get like 3 or 4, but now I'm getting better at like compartmentalizing my time and figuring that out. Time management has become a big thing for me.
Yeah, like me, like just yesterday, like I've been, you know me, like I just be grinding,
Yeah.
but I just realized I forgot the symptom. It's something that you go to sleep, but you'll be up, but you can't move your body out. Sleep paralysis.
I think that's exactly what it's called.
Yeah, sleep paralysis. If I'm saying it correctly. There'll be times that I be like, what the fuck? I can't get up.
That's terrifying.
Yeah, so I just did more research on that, and I was just like, I'm like, by the little other symptoms, it's because I'm not getting enough sleep. I'll go to sleep 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, just on my computer and doing that. And I'm like, yesterday I just decided, I'm like, yo, go to bed at 8, 9, or 10 o'clock every day, because it's like you don't want to deal with that in the future terms.
Yeah.
So it's just like, it sucks because you really want your, but it's like health is wealth. I always believe in that, and now I'm starting to do that. And plus, now if I do go to if I do wake up in the morning, I'll go straight to what I need to do in the morning. I try to wake up like at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning every day.
Okay.
So. But yeah, you need to get your rest.
I need to be more like you, apparently, because I'm still figuring that out. Sometimes I don't get enough sleep.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard.
Especially now, because I think with creatives, I was like, I'm just going to do work. Like, I'm just going to do your contracts, and that's it. Like, I'm done. 9 to 5, have my own little office, and then leave. No. The creatives that I work with, especially the artists, they're like, so you coming through? I'm like, coming through where? Where am I going? It's like a concert at night. And I'm like, it's 10 o'clock at night. I've been up since 5. So I gotta support, and I think that's why I like it so much. Even though it's hard work, I enjoy going to a show. There's nothing better than like singing along with an artist that you like and having everyone else be like, hey, they're all there for the same reason.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I understand that 100% because it's like when you be working so much at the house or your office space, and then you get that one little flyer or that text message, oh, what are you doing tonight, or whatever case may be, I'm having a little situation or a party or whatever or event. I'm like, yeah, I should go out, man. Let me support, real quick. I'll be like, I'm gonna be there for like an hour, but then I end up being there for a couple, 3 hours.
Yeah, it's never 1 hour.
Because when I get home or when I get back to the office, it's like it's back to work. So now we just chill out for a little second.
Oh, that's nice, because I started like taking my computer with me, and I'll be like, okay, so then like behind, I'm just like, oh, good, nice to see you. All right, so that way I can at least get some more stuff done,
So back on track.
Yeah.
Have you ever worked for a firm before?
Several. I've worked for several firms.
Yeah.
Yes. If you look at my LinkedIn, you can see all of the firms I worked for. My first firm I worked for was at Schlesinger Law Offices. Okay. I was not a full-fledged attorney there. I was sort of like an attorney intern type of thing. Okay. And I have a really like weak stomach, which I mean, this is relevant because I worked in, like I said, medical malpractice and personal injury and class actions for medical issues.
And that's a whole different, that's like...
It's all litigation, yeah. So, like if somebody, like you ever see those like late night commercials where it's like, have you or a loved one been hurt by vaginal mesh? Or like, it's always like something unpleasant. You know what I mean?
Like, if you take this drug, XYZ is gonna happen to you. Like what?
Yeah, it's like, and if your family member has been hurt, call this number. We can help, right? Yeah. That was us. That was what we did. Oh, wow. So we had a bunch of cases from all over the United States, and I don't know if people here are like familiar with like what litigation is, like a court hearing. When you have a trial, there's a lot of paperwork and there's a lot of evidence that you have to get first. So trials can take what it seems like, it's only like a couple of days, like 5 or 6 days. It takes 3 or 4 years sometimes to get all the evidence together. And so for us, we were working with Accutane, which is for your zits, right? People were getting IBD, so like internal issues. So there was like a lot of pictures of people's colostomy bags and like other things. And so I remember getting like a full color photo and being like, it's like, no. So that was my first job. And then the second job I had after that, I worked for a firm in Miami Lakes.
Okay. Oh yeah, they got a lot of firms.
Yeah, they do. They do. One time.
I went to school in Miami Lakes.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm surprised. Why not in Carroll City?
I'm from Liberty City originally. Like I'm from Carroll City and Liberty City, but Carroll City I moved like 99, 2000. But I was back and forth from my grandfather's house and my grandma's house.
Okay.
But like in 06, I just stopped going there. And then ever since then, I was officially like a Liberty City resident.
Okay.
So Liberty City's at my heart though.
Okay. So then how do you end up in Miami Lakes then?
Because my grandma didn't want me to go to school in Liberty City because, you know, the education system inside the inner cities is different from going to like, you know, like a other school, other side, like outside the community. So she wanted me to get big on my education, you know what I'm saying, and graduate and do something with myself. Not saying like the inner city schools, not all of them are like that, but predominantly in Liberty City it's like that.
Well, they're structured that way on purpose. But
yeah,
we'll leave that for another story. Yeah.
But so ever since then I went to school like in the west side of Miami, like Hialeah, Miami Lakes. But I went to Barbara Goodman for high school.
Okay, cool. Yeah. All right. Miami Lakes one time.
No, that's still Liberty City. Shout out to my homies over there. Yeah.
So yeah, we worked Miami Lakes, and that's when I started working. I was head of their property insurance litigation division, even though I had never done property insurance litigation.
Wow, that's
that was crazy. Yeah. So that's when I got full-fledged into like learning contracts. That's the basis of everything, right? And I did a lot of cases. We had like, I want to say like at least 100 when I started.
That's a lot.
Yeah,
that's a lot. Especially how you said like the 3 to 4 years of the trials and stuff like that.
Yeah, but for this one it was really fast tracked because most of it would settle. So it was just like basically understanding what the contract is, what wasn't covered. Because the insurance contract, if you ever have one, if you ever read it, the first page is what they cover, and then the next 200 pages are what they don't cover.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what I had to do. And then from there I was like, okay, that was great. But I got tired because it was a lot of work and it's only 3 of us. And I just couldn't handle that amount of work that we had because I was my own paralegal. I was my own secretary. I was also the lawyer. So like it was getting to be too much because it's a small firm, right? So everybody kind of has to pull their weight. So then I started working for the state of Florida in the domestic violence unit. And that was great because I got to see what it was like on the other side, right? Yeah. And sort of see like what the judges are looking for. I've seen them not read whole briefs. Like before I used to write like 10-page briefs. Yeah. And I was like, and they were like, no, just give me like that line. We don't need that. So like I learned how to be more precise and to be shorter with my language and be more efficient. Because people don't have time, you know?
Because they got probably like other cases they got to handle.
Right. I mean, they're busy people and they have all the things they need to do. So I think that I kind of brought that too when I started working for myself and being an entertainment attorney. I used to have like these long podcasts for like an hour being like, let me explain everything to you about entertainment law. And people wouldn't listen. So I was like, let me just cut it up into like 10 minutes max. Yeah. And then try to explain it so that way like you can take away something. So when you do get a contract or if you are, working with another artist, you remember like, oh, I remember that's what, Somara said. Yeah. And that's what I need in my contract. So I just want you to be educated before you even get into anything.
So like, that's crazy because as a lawyer, like as seen outside point of view of a lawyer, I will always think it's just firms. And that's it. Like lawyers are only based on firms, but like you do it pretty much on your own. Like, right?
They're solo practitioners, so it's still a firm. Like I still have a firm, but it's just me. I am the firm. Yeah.
But you kind of like the face of your own firm right now.
No, I am the firm. That's why I said I need an intern. One more time for the intern. I'll give a compensation after 3 months. Okay.
So like, what's the dynamics compared to like being in a firm compared to you are the firm? If that makes sense.
That makes complete sense. Everything's on you when you are the firm. You're the accounting department, you're the secretary, all the decisions are made to you. So you have to do both the entrepreneurial side, like the business side, and then you also have to be doing the actual work of being an attorney. So I think that's the hardest part because before I could just walk into the office, clock in, do my work, as hard as it was, do my work and then just leave. I didn't have to worry about anything else. But now I got to worry about billing. I got to make sure that like, I'm doing everything correctly because now it's my reputation because it's me. So if something isn't done right or done on time, because that happens, like if I'm out and I'm not able to respond to a client in a timely manner, they're like, well, what's going on? And I have to be like, I'm sorry, give me, 20. I even put now, it's like, if you send me an email, it'll take 24 to 48 hours unless you put emergency on it and you're already a client. because I know that it's just me. So I think that's another thing too. You got to learn also to let go, because since it's my firm, I've had trouble. Like I made jokes about the intern, but I really do need one. But I'm afraid to even get one because I don't know how that person's gonna work, and this is my baby.
Oh my God.
You know.
Hey Rod, I know you need. Hey, stop playing with me. Hey Rod, you need to watch this episode, bro, because we go through the same shit. Because it's like we're trying to get an intern, but it's like, are you gonna have the same work hustle as we are?
Yeah.
That's the only thing.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? I know the pay. We can't pay you, but it's like, it's like, can you do that? Even if it's a paid thing, can I even trust you?
Right.
Because when money is involved, it's like, I'm giving you money, and it's like, are you gonna be lazy after when the money come in? You know what I'm saying? Right. That's the only thing. It's hard.
It's hard to let go, especially when it's something that you like. It's something that you built. You built this from the ground up. Like I listened to your podcast even before I got asked to be on it, which I was like, thank you. But it's difficult to have someone just take something that's yours, that you created from the beginning. I don't have a kid, but I assume if I took a kid to daycare, that's what it would feel like. It's like no, but no, you know.
The more you do it, it's like you understand what your parents went through.
Yeah. It's not easy
at all.
Yeah. Did I answer the question? I don't know if I
did. Pretty much.
Okay.
I don't know. We got to talk for a second, but
you're gonna have to do a lot of editing for this one.
No, not really.
Okay.
It's all good. It's a whole conversation. If people know me, my fans, they know how I am. They know I'm just a conversational type of dude.
Yeah.
So so for the people, I'm assuming that people think that entertainment lawyer is kind of like a management type of position, but I don't think that what it is. So tell the people what's the difference between an entertainment lawyer compared to a manager, for even like the music side of things and other different ventures of that.
I think it's funny you're asking this because you kind of know already, since
I know, but
right. But like also with like my work with somebody who also like as well. I think when you're an entertainment lawyer, you're stepping into a lot more roles than you would as a regular attorney. It's very defined when you're like I said, when I worked in the other firm that was a product liability and personal injury firm, it was like, I'm the lawyer, I'm going to go to court for you on the specific subject. When you're an entertainment lawyer, it's more of a long-term relationship type of thing. And for me, I have like also my educational platform first, because I don't see the point of charging you for a contract if you're not getting any work. It doesn't make any sense to me. So that's why I'm like, I have a lot of like consultations, sort of like where I'm advising you on like where you should be going, like where are you now with your music or with your art or with your business, and let's like formulate a plan for where you need to go for growth
for the next level.
And then when you do get to that level, then you can come back to me and be like, okay, Somara, I got a contract. And I'm like, yay. And then we can talk about like how you're going to revise that and how we're going to negotiate that out. So I think it's a lot more involved. And I think that's also why I'm very careful about who I work with, like on a personal level, as like who my clients are, because they call me at all times. Like before, when we were here, I got a client calling me on the phone, right? And he was like, can you do this for me? And I was like, okay, well, what's this, and this? Because they call, I don't have any days off. You know, it's not like a Saturday I'm like, okay, I'm shutting everything down. If you call me and there's an emergency, I have to answer. You know, so
you get a call any time. They could be 5 o'clock in the morning. You probably can get that call.
And I think that, well, not 5 o'clock because I will be asleep, but but I will wake up and hear it and then talk to you. But if that's the case, I think with entertainment law, it's a lot more comprehensive. It's a lot more of like guidance along with like providing advice. So you're doing counseling and you're doing advocating and you're doing negotiating. It's a lot more involved as compared to like other kind of attorneys where they do the same thing, I think, but it's less, it's more defined about what your role is.
How, like, I remember you talked about this earlier, like, you know, your clients, how do you have that time to like, because I feel like lawyers and working with clientele work and you have a lot of things booked, how can you like manage all those clients? That's one thing I always wondered. I still kind of deal with it myself as being a photographer.
I'm laughing because I'm still figuring that out. It's only been like, I appreciate the fact that people are like listening to what I have to say, I think.
Because it's not normal to, I mean, I can speak on people down here. It's not normal. You know
normal
what I'm saying?
For what?
As of like having an entertainment lawyer.
Yeah, well, it was weird to me because I was like, okay, the other entertainment, there's like 3 or 4 like big entertainment lawyers that don't work for firms, that are solos. One of them is in Miami Lakes, and she's a woman. She's the entertainment attorney, and that's her name on Instagram too. I think it's the entertainment attorney, and she represents like big artists like Janet Jackson and people like that. So the people that I knew that were entertainment attorneys were Black women. Right? So when I met another person in the studio, and she was like, I've never met an attorney ever. And I was like, okay, who's Black? And I was like, what do you mean? Like, I know a lot of them, but then I thought about it, and I was like, oh, I guess there aren't a lot of us out here, which is funny. So I guess having that, like knowing that it's not possible for other people to do that, it makes me kind of drive more, like I have more of an obligation than I had before, than just to be like, oh, I want to help put Miami on the map for musicians. I was like, I also have an obligation to other women and other Black women who can say, like, if you want to be an entertainment attorney, don't let anyone tell you otherwise.
Exactly.
Just do it. It's really not like hard in the sense, like, as long as you can get the information, because the information is everywhere, and you can do the research. All you need to learn is like what the statutes are, what the laws are, what the case law is, and you can do it. You just have to put in the work.
That's why I appreciate you as well, because it's not too many. I feel like Black women need that. They need that another figure to be like, yo, you could do this shit. Like it's gonna be hard. But you could do it.
I think it's just, I don't know. It's a good time to be alive, right? Because you have so much information available to you that if you want to be a graphic designer and you want to put in the work, you can go to Coursera, you can go to Udemy, you can go to all these different YouTube University, right? And you can learn.
Hey, everybody say YouTube University.
It's true.
It's true though.
It's
That's
true.
what I'm saying, because we understand that.
Yeah. Like, and you get your credits there. Like you learn. So I think the problem that a lot of people have, and that I had too, is like, it's not that you can't do it, it's that you don't believe that you can do it.
Exactly.
It's
a mind thing.
Right. So once you have that mindset, like before I took the bar, I had a picture of an elephant that was like attached to like a little pole on the ground. And it said mindset. And it was talking about how elephants, when they're babies, they're put in the ground with this little pole, like it's really, really small, right? And so when they're little, of course, like that's gonna stop them, but this is a huge adult elephant, right? So even then, because of the mindset, right, they're still seeing this pole there and the rope, and they won't let themselves free, even though they could. All they have to do is just step forward. So I think that's kind of what I have to remind myself whenever I feel like, because I feel overwhelmed a lot too.
Me too.
There's a lot of issues that I'm like, Somara, like it's just you. Somara, you're not like an older Jewish male attorney who's had like years of experience, but like the way that they got years of experience was just by doing it. So I got to do that too.
I deal with the same thing. And that's why I asked you, or I don't think you answered it, but how you deal with that, like, because I feel like you have a lot. We all have a lot on our plate. In the sense of, at first I used to think it's a bad thing, but at the same time it's a good thing as well, because it kind of have to have that balance. And it's like, by you being overwhelmed on your plate, it's like, but the thing is, it's like you gotta just do it.
And I think the answer to like, how do I deal with it? I'm still dealing with it. It's not like I have an answer for you, because like this morning before I got here, I was here late. Full disclosure, I'm sorry.
Oh my God, you good.
I know, but like it was set for 3:00, and I'm sitting there like, no, I'm gonna be late. I'm sorry. But I try to make it on time to most things, and usually I am punctual. But I'm just still figuring it out. So like, I'm getting better at it, like time management wise. That's why I always have my computer with me now, because then I'm like, if I need the calendar, I need to get like, I don't want to do this. I think I might have to get an iPad. I know people are team Apple, and it's really hard for me to move forward on that. But I see your little iPad there. I got you.
iPad this and that.
I see you. Apple for life. But yeah, so being able to do that and just like incorporate those things, get help when you need it. I think that's the hardest thing for everybody. And then also just learning how to sort of systemize your work. And then as you do things more often, it gets easier. So like my first management contract was really hard, because I had to like really be like, okay, is this what I need to do? And now I know like the parts of it, right? So then I'm like, okay, we can just move it around, because now I know how management contracts really, really, really work. And now we can structure it based on like just your circumstances and sort of tailor it for that, so it becomes easier.
I need advice, to be honest with you. I had a deep conversation with Rod about that, because I kind of got overwhelmed with like just a lot of shit, but yeah, sometimes I tell people like, and I feel like for us as creatives and people that do like different.
Did you just call me a creative?
I feel
One time for me being a creative.
I feel like I feel like because you have that. I feel like everything is an art.
Okay.
You feel me? The art of doing your job, the art of doing what I do. I feel like everything is an art behind it for some reason.
Yeah.
That's just the way I think.
Yeah.
But I was just telling, I forgot what I was gonna say, but I was just telling Rod about like, what I deal with just life and shit. It's just like, it just gets annoying, but then you just gotta do it. You just gotta continue and not stop, because at the end of the day, people like us, we're the ones that people look to for advice. I feel like.
Yeah, that's hard though, and that's weird. Like right now,
is.
like even like you're on video all the time. You know?
You think so?
Yeah, but like you're good about it. Like I saw the Marvin Gaye promo video, and you're there with your cigar and you're like drinking, you're like walking. I was like, if I tried to do that, I'd look awkward as hell. Like I can't do that. Like I know that I'm like a little awkward and a little shy, and so whenever you put yourself out there in that way, it feels weird for people to be like, oh, I see you and I really appreciate like what you're doing. I was like, thank you. I was like, did you watch the video or did you listen to the podcast? And they're like,
oh my God.
And I always ask, I was like, if you listen to the podcast, I feel more comfortable, because there, like, you don't see me on video, and I always feel like that's still weird to interact in that way with people.
Like this season, like it was hard because I'm trying to like, you see we on camera now, like it's kind of.
I'm very aware.
It's it's kind of like having that balance. Like okay, you gotta look at the camera, but then I have to look at my subject too. So it's just like I always been on camera, but not to this extent. So I'm always asking questions like, how do you? I even ask my homies. I ask, like if I drop a video, a commercial, whatever. I ask you, how you really feel about this, or did I do anything? And they'd be all like, yeah, bro, you tripping, like, ooh. But the more you look at a video, or the more you look at a video of yourself, I would say it's like you kind of look at the little details of yourself. So it's kind of like just having that feel and just having that thing in your mind. But video is a whole different ballgame, because it kind of like triggers your mind a lot.
What do you mean by that?
Like what I mean by that is like, you just start looking at yourself differently, and people look at you kind of like different in the sense of, not in a wrong way, but mostly like, oh, he's doing this. He's like on camera. Now he's on YouTube. Like, you know what I'm saying? So people just looking at you like, I wouldn't say famous, but more like kind of known. You could have one view. People might be looking at you like, oh boy, you on video.
Yeah.
And you doing it in a certain type of way, in a professional way, quote unquote, from the outside looking in. So they looking at you like, damn, bro, you actually doing something.
Right, because you're putting yourself out there.
Exactly.
But then, like, again, that Marvin Gaye video was very professional.
I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
It's like work. So back on track, when is the right time to get an entertainment lawyer?
That's a very good question. Thank you for asking that question. I think the right time to get an entertainment lawyer is as soon as you're going to be dropping digital content out there, or you're going to be going to a show, have a consultation if you can. And I think that's another, and okay, so full disclosure, let's talk about it, because this is something that people never want to talk about. An entertainment attorney normally in the markets of New York and in LA is no problem. It's $500 to $800 per hour. And then me as a Florida attorney, what my normal rate was as a firm owner is $350 an hour. I realize that a lot of people, that's cost prohibitive, even for me, because people think, again, like lawyers are making all this money. I'm not making a lot of money right now. Let's be honest. Some months are great.
Oh, that's an entrepreneur though.
Right. Some months are not so great. But I think in mindset wise, people are like, oh, she's a lawyer, so she obviously has a lot of money. Or he's a lawyer and he obviously has a lot of money. That's not the case. But we do charge a lot for the time and effort it takes to be able to look for a contract. But I was like, okay, if I'm trying to help people who are coming up and then not have because artists contribute so much, right? Like think of Wynwood. Wynwood would not be Wynwood, and the real estate prices would not be as high if they didn't have the art that it has. Yeah. But I can guarantee you, if you look at every like mural that's out there, every piece of street art, the artist wasn't either compensated at all, or they were compensated very little.
Depends.
Not for like higher known artists.
Okay. Yeah.
Higher known artists that are established, that already have their contracts in place. Yes, but somebody who just is starting out, I've seen that, and those are the people that I need to help.
Yeah.
So I was like trying to figure out like how do I pay them? And like so at first it was like $50 an hour, you know, and then it became $150 because I still have my rates that I have to pay for.
Yeah.
But after that I was like, okay, well how about I just put stuff online and explain things to artists that way. Mm-hmm. So if you can get the information, there are like plenty of courses. I would tell you to go on Coursera first and check out, there's a music foundations class from West Virginia University. Okay. And it explains, it's 3 hours, but it's free. And it explains the entire music industry to you.
Hey, oof.
Yeah.
Good thing you said that, because a lot of people in the music game don't know the dynamics. You see a lot of people get signed and they don't really know, and that's how the label gets them.
Yeah. And I think also people don't know like the ownership is a really important part. Yeah. Like when you sign to a label, like one of the major three, right? So we're talking like Sony or Warner Brothers, Epic, Universal, any of those. The reason they're able to make money is they're investing in you. And they need a return on their investment.
It's like it's a business,
right? And when I think that's another problem too. Like as a creative or an artist, and you don't think about that. You just think about creating, and you're like, oh, someone's giving me money to have my work out there so I can perform and do what I love, which is great. Yeah. But they're also a business at the end of the day. They're not looking out for you. They have 70 other artists that they're going ahead and doing this quarter, right? And they'll give you an advance, which you don't have to pay back the advance. You don't have to pay back the advance.
But that's when they do this.
But when you get your revenue, that's when the problem is. Yeah. So then you'll have like a 50, if you get lucky and you have a $50,000 advance, and then they will like have your album drop, and they'll say you only make like, let's say you're really good and you made like $100,000 in revenue, but it cost them $150,000.
Not gonna see that money.
Right. So now you still owe them $50,000, and say that you get a second album, right? Well, they're allowed to go ahead and get from your second album and draw the money that you still owe from the first album.
And also, they don't own their publishing. And they own their masters.
Right. So that's what the investment part is. So now they're getting licensing for your music. Like, let's say your song "Awesome" is on like one of my favorite shows, Power. Right? It's on there, and then you're like, oh my god, my song dropped, and they got $150,000 for just the master use, right? And then they got another $150,000 for the publishing part of it, and you're like, oh my god, that's $300,000. I'm gonna get some of that. You're getting none of that.
No.
Because you still owe the label for what they did to go ahead and like put in the work to get you out there. So I think people don't understand that, and they don't understand a label deal. They just see money, like literally they put money on the table and give it to you and be like, okay, and you're like, oh my god, I'm set, and you're not. Like now you owe the label all that money, and it could be years, and it's not even to say years. It's like per project. So if it takes 10 years to make one project, you can't go to another label. No. You're still under contract. So I think knowing the language of a contract is super important, and that's why I'm always stressing it, like over and over again. Know it, because once you are knowledgeable as an artist, there is no exploiting you, because you know exactly what you can give, what you bring to the table, and then you're able to speak knowledgeably about like, I know this is not a good contract for me.
Exactly, because I'm glad you're saying that, because I feel like a lot of my little homies need to see this. A lot of the homies need to see this in general, because we all got homies that do music, and I coming from a place that the outside perception, they think the artist is making millions and millions of dollars out of the labels, and it's like, nah, bro. Like by being with certain individuals in the game or people that been signed in the past, they like, nah, bro. Like, for instance, it's a scenario with one of my friends. He was signed. He was about to sign the deal, but he was going to own all his rights.
Oh, awesome. So he had a distribution deal?
No, they was going to own all his rights.
The label was going to own all his rights. Oh, okay.
The label's going to own all his rights, and any money he gets is going to go straight to the label.
Right.
So it's like all that hard work for nothing. So it's like, what's the point of signing that deal? He's like looking at him crazy. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, just knowing the inside, it's like, that's why we always respected Nipsey.
Right.
Because Nipsey Hussle, he got signed. I forgot what record label he was signed to, but I guess something had happened. You could look at his interviews or whatever, but after that happened, he was like, man, I gotta get it on my own. And that's why we, as hustlers and entrepreneurs, we look at that like, okay, we don't have to go to the masses. We could just get our own thing. It's gonna take a longer route. But nobody can tell me that they can't take anything away from me because I own that.
Right,
so.
and all of it goes to you. So if there's a licensing deal, which is also another thing I talk about.
Yeah.
Not to mention names, but there's been artists who were asked by like video games, right? So like Ubisoft or EA Sports to be on their soundtracks, which is huge. Like if you get a licensing deal with a video game, that's amazing. Like Old Town Road, right? It was originally on Red Dead Redemption.
Oh, I know.
Okay. And now it's huge. Like it's everywhere, right? So now it's getting licensed everywhere. He has like, I think he had something with Wrangler because he talks about Wrangler on his booty. So like Wrangler had like a special Old Town Road like line based off of the song. So he had all this ways to make music and make money off of his music. I mean, he obviously has a record deal, but there are things that you could do. If you own everything yourself, you own the masters, and you have, you know, your rights to the publishing, and then you need to license out a song, that $300,000 that would have gone to the label now goes to you. So can you imagine, like, somebody says, like, because they have the money, they have a huge budget. EA Sports has the ridiculous budget. So they're like, okay, well, we got to pay both sides, because they have to pay for the master use and they have to pay for the publishing. But if you're the master, if you own both, that's all your $300,000 for one deal.
Yeah.
So you don't have to work for the rest of the year if you don't want to.
Exactly.
And you're only doing it for work that you've already done. So that's why I tell people, like, everyone's like, why do you need to do the split sheet? I don't see the point of like having everything on paper. And I was like, I think you're thinking about this in the wrong way. You're gonna invest in new shoes, and I know my brother loves sneakers. Those sneakers cost like $300, $400. If we're talking about Yeezys, they're like millions of dollars, right? So if you invest the money to get a contract like that, you're spending $350 maybe for that contract, plus, you know, for the split sheet, and then you're getting $300,000
in return.
You know, minus the $350. I think that's worth it.
Yeah.
And if you don't have those contracts, then what they're gonna do is they have music supervisors. You're familiar with the music supervisor. So the music supervisor will be like, the song is hot, I like it. Let me contact the owners and see if we can get it done. But they have timelines. So if you're like,
it's like the A&Rs, right?
No. Music supervisors, they work on placement for songs in TV, film, and in video games.
Oh, okay, so yeah.
Right. So they'll contact the owners of whoever owns the rights. So if you are the owner of the masters, they'll be like, okay, we like your song. We want to use it in such and such episode for 15 seconds in this particular part, right? Okay. And then they're like, okay, well, that's awesome. So, you know, if you watch like ABC, NBC, any of those shows, right? Any Shonda Rhimes show, I'm going to say it because, you know I watch Shonda Rhimes. But any of those shows, they're going to go ahead and say, okay, well, we want to use your song. How much is it going to cost? Who owns it? You don't have a split sheet. You don't have a master use agreement. They'll be like, we'll go on to the next person. You've lost $300,000.
Yeah, exactly.
Or $50,000.
But you know, by that contract with the label, you splitting money with the lawyer. You splitting money with a lot of different people. So it's like, you come in the game not knowing this. I feel like if you don't come in the game with everything in line, getting your, I'm still learning this, but like your LLC of your company or all this or whatever the case may be, then, you know what I'm saying, they gonna fuck you over.
Because you don't know.
Exactly.
And they only can do, like, you can be exploited because you trust them. And I think I'm not saying that the record industry is evil. I don't think that at all. I don't want people to think
everybody's different. Like, everybody's situation is different.
Right. You know, like, sometimes they've, to get the kind of global exposure to be like a Beyonce or a Bad Bunny or like a Maluma or, Denzel Curry has a distribution deal. It's a little bit different. But, like, to get to a level like that, or Billie Eilish or Jay-Z, right? Even before he had a record label, he was signed to a record label. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So that kind of exposure, because they have this huge building, like brand, exactly, to be able to do that is invaluable. But know what you're signing up for. Exactly. If you're going to give up your rights for like a one album deal, knowing that you're going to be able to gain like 1 million fans from that and then be able to do yourself on your own, do it. But know like what you're giving away, and know that if you're giving away those masters, you may not be able to get them back because someone told me that, oh, you can always buy them back later. No, they can. You can try to buy them back, but maybe you don't have the money to. You know,
you got to recuperate all that. And then my thing is the 360 deals. So it's like that's a whole different situation.
Well, you know what? Let's talk about it. Let's talk about the 360 deal.
Yeah.
So
let me say.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because I do a lot of research on this too.
Yeah, cool.
You know, I have a lot of friends. I'm kind of like, me and the homie got a record label. You feel me?
Yeah.
So with 92 Minds and shit. So I do like my research, and we do research within each other. So like he put me on game on how this shit works, and the whole if you sign certain, now like I said, it all depends on the person. I'm not saying it's bad or good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying that once somebody come in the game, they sign that contract, you not knowing that it's a 360 deal to later. Now, a 360 deal is pretty much a label kind of own kind of everything.
Mm-hmm.
And by them owning everything, so that sneaker commercial you do, they getting a percentage off of that. By you doing tour merch, they get a percentage out of that because of all the things that they contribute into getting, well, I would say buy all the merch and all the shit to get you to, how should I say it, to get you to be in that placement. They want a percentage off of it. So it's just like people not knowing this.
It's the way the industry has changed because of streaming. That's the reason why it happened. And it's funny enough, it's not new. The multiple rights agreements, also known as 360 deals, they're Disney deals. That's what the Disney artists had. I learned that from one of the CLEs. So that's like crazy. You have Miley Cyrus, like if you know any Disney deal, like she did the touring, right, as Hannah Montana, right? Wow. The merchandise was also Hannah Montana. She had a TV show, Hannah Montana. Like all of that stuff that she did, books on Hannah Montana, all that other stuff, that was a 360 deal before people realized it was a 360 deal. So it's always been around. It's just now that because, you know, you're not making money off of CD sales anymore and like mechanicals, which is what that's called. Like anytime you print a song onto a mechanical, a CD, a cassette, a vinyl, that's how they used to make their money. And that's how they were able to be able to pay the label back. Now that that's depleted and people are streaming and they don't own music anymore, they had to find a way to make some kind of money because they were bleeding money for a while. So now if you notice, there's a lot more tours than there used to be. Like, I am a child of the 90s, okay? So
tour was like once a year.
Right. So like I remember in 4th grade, Boyz II Men was coming. And I was like, Mom, please. Like, I just need to go see them once. Like, let me see Wanye one time. And then if you don't know who Wanye is, he's one of the people in Boyz II Men. He wasn't the lead guy like Sean, right? And he wasn't the guy who was like, baby, I'm sorry. That wasn't him. But he was in the back.
He's in the cut.
Right. And, I mean, it didn't happen a lot. Even in college, you know, this was, I think, when did I go to college? This is 2002. At the beginning of college, 2002, I went to Incubus concert. And that was, you know, because college you have more concerts coming through, but definitely not as many. Like now you cycle through, like now there's concerts coming. I think like some of them come twice, you know, in the year. You know, Bad Bunny was here not that long ago and he's coming back. You know, and then, you know, we have, who else is coming? I think Denzel Curry's coming. Like later on. Again? Okay. And then
see, like, my thing is now with concerts in Miami, it's different. Like, it was an era from 2000, like, 08, no, not even, like, 10 to, like, 15, maybe. Because we had Grand Central. And Grand Central
I remember Grand Central. It's an apartment complex now. That makes me so sad. That's so sad. Okay.
But, you know, we had the underground, then we had the big masses. Now, the big masses, they play in American Airlines Arena. Now, American Airlines Arena, they automatically charge you $200 maybe a ticket. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like, you know, now every once in a while. I mean, Miami's struggling on that, like the concert point of view, because every once in a while we'll have a concert into the rap game or just, you know.
Yeah. Well, and you know what I found out too doing this is that how do I say this nicely without sounding like I'm a conspiracy theorist? If it is a rap show, like or predominantly hip hop, the insurance for the venue is astronomical. It is so ridiculously high.
Than a rock concert?
Where people, crazy. I mean, I've been to rock concerts.
I mean, it makes sense though.
No, it does not. I've been to rock concerts and people like the same amount of like crap that could happen at any concert. I've been to a teen concert. I went to go see Pretty Much. They're like a little band that Simon Cowell did.
Yeah.
I think that was the most violent show I've ever been to. Like those teenage girls are not playing around. Okay, so I would be probably safer at a Lil Wayne concert, to be honest with you.
But the thing is with concerts, with rap concerts, the thing is, well, yeah, I get you. And, you know, I even think about it. Yeah,
it could be any they're basically. Okay, so when you're doing insurance, you have to look at the risk, right? They're doing a risk assessment and they're seeing like how big of the risk it is. Yeah. That risk assessment that they're doing needs to be based on the venue, based on like the number of people. They're basically saying like the music itself is the problem. And that's my issue.
Yeah.
That's my big issue, because I'm just saying, like, I understand.
They're not
like,
from the culture, so it's
right,
like,
but like, you know, you're from the outside looking in, and then you're making it, but like, you're losing money that way. A venue for Rolling Loud just showed you how much money that you can make from hip hop, you know? And like, the rock scene is great too, because I've listened to everything. Like, full disclosure, when I was younger, I was called an Oreo, right?
Yeah.
Which, because I listened to everything. Like, I also listened to, growing up in Oklahoma, I listened to like Reba McEntire. I listened to Brooks and Dunn. I listened to like a lot of like older white country singers, because that's what you had. And so I think people can do whatever they want as far as music is concerned.
Yeah.
We're talking for a really long
No,
time.
you good. You good.
Okay.
This is a conversational podcast. You good.
But like, as far as that's concerned, when we're talking about the insurance and the money that way, if you want people to come and you want people to really enjoy the music scene here, that's got to change, because whether it's a rap concert or it's a reggaeton concert or whatever it is, like, I think it should be just the same, and as far as like what the insurance is, and it should be based on the number of people and not the genre.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense, because you can't just go back. You can't be assuming out here.
Right.
Because you actually, like you said, you're losing money off of that, and by it turning out good, you lost money.
Exactly. But going back to the 360 deals, the whole reason that, you know, they started going into all these multiple areas is because they were losing their main form of revenue.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of artists still see it as like, okay, I'm signing this deal, they're giving me tour support, they're giving me all of this stuff, but now they're taking more money from you that they normally wouldn't have taken before, and now you're not getting what you could have as much because you signed this deal. And the deals are like 200 pages. If you get one from a big label, they're long, so you're probably not going to be reading it, you know. And a lot of people are like, oh, well, I already have the money, I don't want to hire an attorney, I'll just sign it, you know, to save myself money. And you've lost yourself a lot of money that way. So again, like, I'm not saying because I'm an attorney, right, like, oh, you should hire us because you need us, but it's always better to know what you're signing and know what you're getting into before you get into it, because then it's too late. And if you have to litigate it out, litigation costs for attorneys, like I said, $500 to $800 an hour for entertainment. If you're lucky, $350 or $250 an hour, plus costs and fees. What are costs and fees? There's the filing of the actual complaint, which is usually about $400. There's every time that an attorney goes ahead and like types up their work for you, like sometimes they'll give you like a cost fee. There's mailings. If I have to fly out as an attorney to your deposition, which happens to be in California, you're paying for my flight.
Of course.
Most I'm just being honest. No, actually not a lot. It's you get reimbursed usually from the company. Like if you're working for a company, you don't go to the client themselves and have them reimburse you. So I think with litigation, I work on the transactional side because my whole point is to be able to have you establish ahead of time, so you don't have to get to that point. So that way, when you've already signed your contract, you can sleep at night knowing, okay, this is what I signed up for. It's only for one album deal. I know what I'm getting in replace from that, or I'm getting from it, and then you can move forward that way.
So for the people like musicians and filmmakers and entrepreneurs, tell the people that why is getting an LLC, trademark and copyright is important.
Okay, well, LLC is different from a trademark and copyright. I want to be clear on that. An LLC is a type of business entity, and the reason that that's important is that it protects you from liability. So say for instance that because a lot of the artists that I deal with, and I like this, they're DIY artists. They do everything themselves. So if they're throwing a show, like we were talking about insurance, right? People don't think about that. Like I'm gonna go to a show on Friday, this coming Friday. Are you coming?
Oh, sure.
The Soda Cup?
Yeah,
you should be there.
You know, I always come through every time.
It's in South Miami, but it's good. I can get you a ticket.
That's too far.
You just said that you would go. Anyway, it's this Friday, and it's at a venue. If something happens to somebody there, the venue is going to take care of it, right? But sometimes places don't have insurance, so you as the artist have to have insurance. But if you don't have insurance, you throw a show, somebody gets hurt, and then they sue you, right? Because that can happen. Then that means they're coming after you personally. You, Aaron J. Jackson, right? Because you don't... No, I'm just saying. I'm using it as an example. But since you have 92 Minds, right? Yeah. And it's a 92 Minds show, then they can only come after 92 Minds, which means that if 92 Minds has $0 in its business account, that's all they're getting. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it helps you protect your personal assets from anything that could happen. And then also, which I think is really great because I learned about that like I think 2 years ago actually, business credit.
Yeah.
Business credit
I just learned that this year.
is the most amazing thing that you could have, because leverage, if you want to make money, I understand people like, and I think the mindset is always like, don't be in debt. But there's a difference from personal debt and business debt. Business debt is considered a good thing because you're working on investing and creating and, you know, giving more platforms and giving more jobs and helping the economy generally. And so like this camera that you have here, your microphones, all of that stuff, you buy through your business line of credit. You still get like your travel rewards, right? If you want to do that. And then at the end of the year, you get to go ahead and deduct all this stuff and get reimbursed for it. So I think those are the two really important parts about having an LLC, is that, you know, liability, it limits what can happen to you, and then it increases the amount of money that you can use to build your business faster, you know, without having the personal detrimental things that would happen to you if you had your personal credit card and you used it and then something happened. So if it doesn't hurt your credit score as much either. Which is important.
So I learned all that this year about, you know, starting my business. Hey, Philo, I ain't gonna hold you. Sorry for the interruption. Turn it off.
Yeah.
For me, I think
it turned off.
Anyway, so would you say that's pretty much like the difference between all those three?
Well, LLC, like I said, is a business entity. So the difference that you would have with an LLC, the types of LLCs, those types of business entities are an LLC, corporation, either an S or a C corporation, and then you have partnerships and you have sole proprietors. Partnerships and sole proprietors are not registered, but LLCs and corporations are, and those are the ones that you have to do with your Secretary of State. Now, when you're talking about trademarks and copyrights, that's a completely different animal. That's an intellectual property issue. And if we're going to talk about that, that's probably the most important part to talk about as an artist. So I get a lot of questions. It's like, oh, how do I trademark something? How do I copyright something? And people think it's the same thing. It's not. A copyright is for a work of art. So if you write a book, if this podcast, you have a TV show, film, something that's, you know, a work of art, a copyright helps protect that from people being able to take your work and use it as their own. And you, every time you make something, like you draw, you have a photo, like we're here in the studio, right? And the photos are on the wall. As soon as they're accessible, he has a copyright. But in order to protect, like say I take that picture, I use it for like a mixed media thing that I do, and I don't credit this person, that's an infringement. And he has a right to go ahead and, you know, come after me for it, but unless he registers his copyright, he can't do anything. And now, because of the way that the law had changed because of the Supreme Court decision that happened earlier in the year, now you have to actually wait for it to get processed before you can even move forward on your filing. Before, it used to be like you could just register it, but now, because there was an issue that was up for the Supreme Court to decide, they said you have to wait for it to be registered. And copyrights are easier to do than trademarks because they don't cost as much.
Tell the people how much it usually costs.
For copyrights, $40.
No, I'm talking about the
a trademark. Oh, it's $400 to file.
You see, you know what I'm saying? Like when you took, cause I learned that from you. You see, when we had that meeting, I was just like, oh shit, I didn't know that. And I've been knew about the copyright, and I always wanted, but I thought it was more expensive than trademark.
It's the opposite. And the reason it's the opposite is the copyright is very limited because it's for a particular piece of work. A trademark, it distinguishes a brand. So think Coca-Cola, right? They have the trademark for the Coca-Cola brand. If you try to use their trademark anywhere, they're going to tell you with a very angry cease and desist to take it down. And if you don't do that, then they're going to sue you. That's the 2 steps right there. And the reason they do that is because it's not really, it's for them because they invested the money into it, but also it's for their consumers as well, because if somebody else puts Coca-Cola on something that's not a Coca-Cola product, they'd be like, what the hell is this, right? So it's supposed to work both ways. It's a consumer protection thing and it's a business protection thing. So for instance, can I use 92 Minds as an example?
Of course.
Okay. So 92 Minds is a record label / I would say entertainment company / media company, like you guys do it all, right? So for that, if you have your trademark registered with the trademark office of the United States Patent and Trademark Office, then that means that nobody else can use 92 Minds, the name, for that particular class. And a class is a category. So that category, let's say for instance, is apparel. If somebody else has an apparel company that's called 92 Minds and they try to register it, they can't do it. If they did it and then you found out about it, you could send a cease and desist saying like you have to stop. And then you can even go farther and saying like any money that you made from our brand, you have to give back to us, because the only reason that people were buying your brand in the first place is because they thought it was our brand. And if they don't do that, then you can go forward in litigation. And when you have a trademark infringement, we're talking about statutory damages, and those damages, I believe, for trademark are capped at $150,000.
Talking about them big numbers.
Yeah. So I mean, that's why it's important to have those things, because you think like, oh, I don't need it, because you start off small. Amazon was a small company. Like you saw that meme or that like image floating around of like Amazon and like Marker. Like it's crazy in his garage, and like now it's a multi-billion-dollar company, right? Every big business was a small business once. Every small big performer was a small performer once. Had one follower, like maybe their mom, right? So if you have that mindset, like I always think like when I'm dealing with people, they're going to be big, especially the people that I happen to like, because I know that they have something. But if you don't think that way now, when you do become a big business, it's going to be difficult, because you didn't do what you're supposed to do at the very beginning when it was easier, when it was just you and your intern and like maybe your partner, you know? It's
a marathon.
Yeah, yes,
R.I.P. Nipsey Hussle.
It is.
So, if you don't mind me asking, what would you say would be your ideal client? And who you wouldn't mind working for?
What do you mean? Like already established?
It could be already, or something you want to pursue in the future.
I think for me, my ideal client is someone who's engaged. I think somebody who's driven and who understands that and is not afraid to treat their music with a business mindset, or their business with a business mindset, because you don't have to be just a musician for that. Knowing that it takes work is important, because you can have all the talent in the world, but as we all know, there are things on the radio that maybe we don't like, that we think aren't so great, but that person was willing to work really hard to get it there, to at least get to the record label. You know what I'm saying? So do I have an ideal client in the sense like there's a particular person? No. But there is a type of person I feel like that's always going to be successful. And those are the people who aren't afraid to put in the work and that are always willing to learn.
So what should your potential client should be asking for your service?
My potential client, well, see, that's my service is shifting, because before it was just like, if you need to come to me for a contract, I'll work with you on that. But I kind of answer the same questions over and over again. Like we did talking about the difference between copyright and trademark, because that's a huge issue, and people will be like, oh, I need to trademark something, but they mean they need to copyright something. Or I need to copyright something, and they mean they actually need to trademark it. So I think for me, like I started doing more of an educational platform thing. So I'm
especially with your podcast,
right? But now I'm gonna be doing like classes, you know, like I'm renting out like a little Airbnb. It's gonna be really small. Like the first one I'm planning on doing is a copyright class. I'm actually gonna teach you how to go through the steps, like once you already have your mixed and mastered song, of registering your copyright. So now you know how to do it, right? And then you can go ahead and move forward from there, instead of me having to explain to like 5 different clients 5 different times. I can explain to them in one place. Right. So that's the first part, is that I'm moving into more of an educational platform. As far as like a client that needs me then, after you've learned some of the things, or even if you are trying to figure out where to go, because you're maybe going to go on tour, or you're having your first release and you're spending money on marketing and everything, then I say come to me. Because then that's when you need to really make sure that you have all of your things in order, because the worst thing that you can do as an artist is leave money on the table. Because the record label has the kind of power, because they have people who know where to register, when to register, how to get it done. You can do the same thing, but the difference between you and the record label is knowledge.
Knowledge is key. Yeah, that's crazy. Damn, I'm just, you gotta understand, like I'm hearing this stuff like as I go, and I'm learning as I go. So it's just crazy how you said that. Who inspires you professionally and personally?
Okay, when you say inspired personally, what do you mean? Like
it could be your family members. And
like to do what? Like to like live my best life?
Live your best life, and then professionally be more into your field.
Who inspires me professionally? Ooh, yikes. I would say Stephanie Hayes. She's another entertainment attorney. She's out of Houston, Texas.
Okay.
She's actually inspired me to, and she's a professor too. She's another entertainment attorney, like I said, and she inspired me to actually do this.
Oh, wow.
I was afraid to sort of like, well, I mean, I had the firm, but like to actually start an Instagram page and to like start doing like the educational things because she does that for people in Houston. And I was like, okay, well, this is helpful. Like, you kind of need to know these things in order to do well as an entrepreneur or an artist. So I would say she was huge, instrumental in helping me with that. And I always tell people to follow her too because she's awesome. She has Quick Question Fridays.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you should check her out.
Yeah,
for sure. She's really good. And also professionally, Johnny Cochran was huge for me. As like a kid, seeing like the O.J. Simpson trial. Well, no, the O.J. Simpson trial. Like watched it.
Oh, okay.
Like I literally watched it.
Oh, wow.
Like the Bronco chase and everything. I mean, I may look young, but I'm not that young. So having someone of color be that caliber of attorney was amazing for me.
Especially around that time too.
Yeah, it's still now. Like it's more prevalent, but it's not that prevalent. I wanted to get it to a point where like you see another black attorney and you're like, whatever. You know, like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I don't want it to be like a thing. I just want it to be like just normal. Like, she's an attorney.
Yeah. So, how does it feel to be a young woman in your field, and what was your first day like getting your feet wet on the
job? Like as an attorney generally, or like as an entertainment attorney? I hated it. When I first started in the legal field, I hated it. Everyone thought I was someone else, and I have like no disrespect for paralegals or for secretaries. They do a lot of the work actually. Yeah. Most of the work that happens at law firms are from the paralegals. I'll be honest with you. They do 90% of the work, and then the attorneys just go do the last 10%. So I didn't like it because I always felt like I had to prove something all the time. Yeah. And that puts a chip on your shoulder, I think, from you being able to do your work.
Exactly.
After I got over that, I was just like, you know what? Whatever a person thinks of me, they think of me. You can't change how someone's going to view you. There's no particular way to be an attorney. Like, there's no particular way to be an artist. You just do the best that you can, keep your head down, and the work will show. And people will come to you because of the work. And I think that's what I've learned, and that's sort of like how it was. Being undervalued and being underestimated was probably the best thing that I could do, or could happen to me, because then every time I had a win, I was like, I can do this, I can do this. And when people don't expect much of you and you shine, they're like, whoa.
They ain't
you know? Yeah, so it's good. I think it was a good thing.
How do you manage to keep everything organized?
Next question.
Oh, so hey, you know, like you say, you already got a million clients.
I'm getting there, but like, ask me like in a year, like when I got it together.
What tools or resources do you utilize
for the firm?
For you, like a day-to-day basis for you, or
I use Calendly a lot for calendar invites, which was helpful. Google, it plays an instrumental role in my profession.
Google University too.
Yes. And Microsoft as well. OneDrive, Office, like all of that stuff is great.
Oh, you definitely a PC type of person.
Yeah, I am. Microsoft, Bill Gates one time. What else?
Nah, Steve Jobs, man. R.I.P.
Bill Gates. Okay. Who else? What else do I use? I use Canva for my social media, which is helpful because I'm not a creative and I don't know how to use Adobe, like Photoshop or Illustrator. It scares me. I'm taking a class on it now, but it still scares me. And then what else do I use that's helpful? I'm trying to use automation more.
What's that?
Basically, like you have, like when you get a text message, like an automatic text message, or you get automatic messages on your Instagram DM, like you ever got those? Automation kind of helps with you not having to be there. So if a client sends me a message and I'm not able to respond immediately, it's like, okay, the firm got your message and we'll respond with you, in 24 hours.
I need that.
Because you can be a small firm, but you just have to know how to utilize your time and utilize your resources. And so I'm learning how to do that more. because now I need it. Before it was just like I had a couple clients here, and now I'm getting way more, so I need to figure that out. And those are the things so far that have been helping. It's just, you know, having the calendar with Google, and then having Microsoft as far as like being able to access my my documents everywhere. So if I need to revise something, I can revise it on the go, which is super important because I'm not in my office a lot. And so being able to be responsive quickly is super important, I think.
Yeah, you need to get you a little tablet.
Or, I mean, it's gonna be an iPad.
It don't have to be an iPad.
No, it is, because at this point people are like, can I drop a pin? I'm like, where do you want to drop this pin? Not on my phone. So yeah, it's gonna be Apple.
So I got a few more questions to ask you, and then we better clear it. What do you look forward to for your career in the future?
I think the one thing that I really look forward to, and I told my friend this too, because I work with a startup now called Black Pitch. They also have something called Scout Map. These are two friends I've had forever, and like I really admire these two women. I think I posted about them like a lot, actually. I would love to be able to go to a show for an artist that I help like get out there and get the distribution deal, and just be in the back and just like singing along, because you know I know how hard it like came, right? Like started from the bottom over here, right? So I think that's would be amazing for me to see that progression and to be there for that, to see a win, you know, or see them get their licensing deal, you know, or their trademark, like those things. Like I celebrate with you because I know how hard it was for you, and I'm there with you, you know. It's
like winning a championship.
Yeah, if I was good at sports, yes. And then same thing with a business. When an entrepreneur is able to get, you know, their first round of seed funding, or they're moving from an LLC to a corporation and divvying out shares, that's a big deal too.
That's definitely a big deal.
Professionally, I'm getting there with some of my clients are already getting to that point, but I mean, to be able to do that more often would really, you know, show like a win for me. Like I would appreciate that more.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's I don't really hear that as often. Like, you know, like especially what you do, and you know, that's why I had you here, or I have you here, because I feel like a lot of people don't get to hear from an entertainment lawyer. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Like especially where I come from, and a lot of people do music and they trying to figure out a way of how to put their songs on SoundCloud or like Spotify or just different, you know, type of situations. But once you get that, what comes after that? You know what I'm saying? So I really appreciate you for coming here. And also, I got one more question. What would you tell the younger you?
What would I tell the younger you?
Yeah.
People who tell you that you can't do something weren't able to do something themselves, so don't listen to them. That's what I would tell the younger you.
That's what's up. So how can the people get a hold of you?
I am available. My cell phone, actually, my actual cell phone, is 786-285-3144. It's available on IG too. I'm letting you know, because if you need to text me, you can. It's public knowledge, like everyone can have it. My email is admin@thelattelawyers.com. I get a lot of DMs. Most of them are appropriate. I've only gotten one inappropriate one, and it made me laugh a lot.
Creep.
No, it was. I mean, yes, it was a creep, but it was. He said like about getting into legal briefs, and I was like, the fact that he knew what a brief was, I was like, oh, okay.
Hey, buddy, corny man.
It was funny. It made me laugh. I was like, this is a professional page, but I'm glad that you know what a legal brief is. So good for you, but block. And then what was the other thing as far as that is concerned? We talked about the DMs. We talked about my email. I'm at IG at the Latte Lawyer, and I have a Twitter, which I'm gonna start using.
You should. It's hard to get into, but I mean, I had mine for years, but
you tweet a lot.
I used to.
Okay, so you don't tweet as much anymore.
Nah, if I do tweet, I just tweet a quote that I make up. You know, I'm big on quotes. So.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, I follow like a lot of the information, which actually is a good point too. If you're an artist, if you can follow BMI, ASCAP, Sony,
all that,
their Twitters, or their tweets, their Twitter accounts and the tweets that they have usually are very informative, and they give you a lot of information as far as like conferences that they may have or live. If you're on their lives, go when you can, because they're dropping gems that you don't even know about in the middle of the day about what to do, where to go. Sometimes they're having like contests that will help you get to be able to go to their conferences for free. So definitely like be on top of that. Like don't worry so much about following. Like, follow the artist, that's cool, and like I'm a bit about that too.
Yeah,
but like if you want to be able to like get yourself to the next level, follow the people who are getting the artists those deals, and follow the people who are distributing that music for those artists. Cobalt is another one with a K. They're a really big publisher, and they have a lot of information that they provide, and their YouTube page is amazing as well.
Gotta check them out, and I gotta share that with the homies. Well, that's episode 19 of Behind the Beard. I thank you.
Thank you for having me.
This was one of my favorite interviews, honestly. I'm not saying that because you're here, but I really mean that.
That's awesome, because I was worried. I was like, we talked a lot.
Yeah, we got an hour and 20 minutes.
Okay.
It's good, though.
All right.
Shit. But this is Behind the Beard, and we out.